Looking forward to going on the road, playing against Colorado. They're a team that's struggled a little bit just like we have. I think they've probably playing with a little more confidence right now just because they've won some ball games. I think that you can put on film and look, they've gotten better week after week after week, and I think that's the big thing that you want to do is to try to improve every week. And they've stayed relatively healthy. I think that's one thing when you look at the beginning of the season to where they are now. They've managed to get a lot of guys experience, and they're playing with some young players like we are, but the guys have gotten better, and as they've gotten more and more experience through the season, particularly shows up on special teams. I think their special teams are very much improved from where they were early in the year to where they are now, and again, a lot of that has to do with the carryover that they're getting week after week, and guys are improving. So, obviously Richardson's a very good receiver. He's a guy that stands out, makes plays. I know he gave Cal some fits last time they played a couple of years ago. He's the guy that when the game gets tight, then they're going to try to get him the football and let him make plays, and he normally does, and he's a heck of a player. Defensively, excuse me. Defensively, they run the ball well. They play with a lot of effort. They've got some quickness up front, and they're a team that, as I said, has gotten better week after week after week. So it'll be a challenge for us. Boulder's a tough place to play. I always enjoy playing there. I think it's a neat setting, good atmosphere, but it's a hard place to play, and we're going to have to play well. Obviously, going to have to improve our special teams from our performance against USC. We got to take care of the football, not turn the ball over. Haven't done a very good job recently creating turnovers, and so it's something we're going to have to do defensively is get some turnovers this week and try to make some big plays.
Okay, questions?
Sonny, how well do you know Mike McIntyre? I mean, you guys were rivals in the same league for.
Yeah, no, I know Mike well. Years. Yeah, we played against each other for 3 years. When he was at San Jose and I was at Louisiana Tech, so we know each other well. We're good friends. I mean, we talk to each other on the phone through the year and socialize, that kind of stuff in the off season some. So got a lot of respect for Mike. He's a good football coach, good guy.
He was a guy who was sort of mentioned along with you, a year ago when this position was open. Do you find it interesting that now you're playing against each other? And
yeah. I mean, I think that's, we kind of laughed about that in the off season a little bit. About the way things work and how it's kind of funny sometimes, but that's coaching. You know how it is. I mean, everybody's mentioned for everything at some point in their career.
Sonny, a little news item on Monday with Hardy Nickerson missing the last 2 games of the season.
Yeah.
Yet another defensive injury for your team. I guess a couple questions. What are you going to do with for the linebacker positions, and who's going to replace Hardy? And then just about the continuing defensive injuries.
Mike Barton will take Hardy's spot. That's kind of what we anticipate happening. A lot of it's going to depend on Kyrie and what he can do. That'll give us a little bit more flexibility if Kyrie gets back, which we anticipate him, getting back. He'll slowly progress through this week, but we think he'll play Saturday. Hopefully he'll play the whole game. And that's what we're hoping for. That's a position that we started the year with a lot of guys, and it's just we've been decimated. I mean, just look at our numbers. Hardy was basically on our depth chart coming out of two-a-days, was the third team Mike, and then now he's out for the year, and so now we're Chad Whitener did as good as he could do coming in and filling in for him, against USC, and we're down to our fourth team middle linebacker, so we've obviously had some injuries, and that's part of football. I mean, everybody's got injuries. I mean, that's not an excuse. We got to get our guys ready to play. And coaching is coaching the guys you have and coaching them well and figuring out a way to win. So obviously we haven't done a great job of that.
Is Hardy having surgery, or what's the nature of his?
Yeah, he'll have surgery. Yeah, he's having the Liz Frank surgery. on his foot. So it's really a kind of a tendon injury, I believe, more than anything else. I believe Friday.
But it's the kind of thing where you'd expect him to be back in the spring.
Probably not the spring. Probably be May. Yep.
Sonny, can you talk about the importance of getting a win here for team morale and just it seems
Yeah.
like a lot of the guys have been kind of saying that they really need it.
Yeah, I mean, it's always important to get a win. This week's no different. I mean, we just need to go play well. I mean, that's the thing we have to do is play a good football game for 60 minutes, and I'm confident if we do that, then that'll be enough for us to win. And I've felt that way many times this year against a lot of people that we've played against, and so we haven't been able to get that kind of consistent execution. As I said after the game Saturday, we felt like we were in a pretty good spot Saturday, down 21-14, and had some momentum and had confidence, and we felt like we matched up well against USC in a lot of different ways, and then something that's been pretty steady for us most of the year, the wheels came off, and that's been, whether you go back to Washington State and it's 2 fumbles inside the 5-yard line, or games where we felt like we had an opportunity to win, we've just made too many mistakes and haven't given ourselves a chance to compete and have an opportunity to win.
Your first year at La Tech, I can't remember exactly how that went, but how important is it to get some tangible results as you build forward to that second season?
Yeah, you always want to. I mean, that's, we won some games at Louisiana Tech my first year there. We weren't particularly good, but we won some games just because, more than anything, honestly, it's because of our schedule. We were just better than some people that we played, and we've had a little tougher schedule here probably than we had there, just the way things have played out. But that's and we got a lot better our second year, and didn't happen as fast as you want it to. I mean, you always want to just show up and sprinkle some dust on something and make it easy, but that's most of the time that doesn't last when that happens. Because if you walk into a senior laden team, then and you're able to kind of get it going quickly. A lot of times, what happens is you lose those guys, and then the next year, is the tough year. And so, it's the nature of college football is rebuilding's tough and takes time, and it's hard on everybody and frustrating for everybody. But it'd certainly be good for us to get a win Saturday.
Are there things that you've done that your guys will be able to look back at during the off season, during the spring, and say these are things we achieved? Anything tangible that, besides working hard and continuing to play hard through games, that they can really use to kind of propel them forward?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know that that's really necessary. I don't know if you have to have those things. I mean, it certainly makes it easier, but there's not, as we've talked about before, I mean, from an outsider's standpoint, there's not much to look at and say, boy, they've gotten this much better, or they've done this or done that. I mean, it just hadn't been the way the season's played out. So, I mean, I think those guys know that there was some things that needed to be fixed inside our program in terms of commitment and accountability and that kind of thing. And I think that those things have improved. They're nowhere near where they need to be, but I think they're better. And again, that doesn't always show up, particularly when you're young and you've had some injuries. And and as I said Saturday, I mean, as a coaching staff, there's obviously some things we would do differently. If we had known some things were going to happen the way they have, we would do things much differently. And so, it's been a learning experience for all of us. It's been a tough one, but it's something we think will make us better.
It's kind of interesting that there are 2 true freshman quarterbacks in this game. I want you to know about Lofu. What do you see of him? And
didn't know much about him prior to him starting. I know he is. I know that they feel like he gives them something that gives them an opportunity to win. I think that's the deal. Is when you look at him play, he's got an element that he can run the football more than Connor Wood did. And I think that's something, that's a direction it looks like that they want to go in, is the direction of having a quarterback that is a little bit more mobile and a little bit more of a runner. I think he's done a good job taking care of the football. I think that's probably been certainly a point of emphasis. It looks like from that standpoint, he hadn't turned the ball over much, and you can tell that he's that they think he gives them the best chance to win. So he's a good athlete, moves around well. Like I said, throws the ball well. Good player.
You mentioned in the outset the lack of turnovers you guys are creating. How much of that is young players who aren't real confident yet, not real playing free and easy, and able to make those aggressive plays?
Typically, that's part of it. I mean, typically that's something we've got to do a better job of coaching is coaching turnovers. I mean, that's something that Andy and his staff have really tried to emphasize, but we just got to continue to emphasize it more, and we've got to figure out ways to get the ball out. And typically when you have, when you're a very good tackling football team, then you're gonna get some turnovers because the first guy will come secure the tackle, the second guy will come strip the ball out. And we haven't tackled that well at times, and so we've had a lot of guys that have been, just trying to hang on hang on and make the tackle. Interceptions happen by pressuring the quarterback typically, and we haven't done a great job of getting pressure on the quarterback consistently. And so, those we just hadn't gotten a lot of turnovers. And then when they've thrown them to us, we hadn't done a very good job of catching them at times. So, we've tried to blitz a little bit more as the season's gone forward to try to, put a little more pressure on offenses, and hopefully contribute to them making more mistakes and create some turnovers as a result of that. And it's worked at times and hadn't at times.
You talk about the ongoing process of finding a new home for Bigelow and how you think that's going. I mean, would you have guessed in a million years you're going to the 11th game? He hasn't scored a touchdown for you this year.
No. I think we were all surprised by that. I mean, I think coming in, he was an unknown just from the standpoint of he didn't do much during spring football, and then we got through fall camp and he showed some signs at fall camp, and then I think hit a rough patch here where I think he lost his confidence a little bit and started, maybe didn't feel great, his knee didn't at times, I think, and didn't have a lot of confidence in it. And so for us, it's been difficult to try to find a home for him just because, his skill set's more for a running back, and but I think his, right now mentality is more as a wide receiver. And so, we're trying to figure out ways to get him the ball and let him do what he can do. He had some good runs Saturday. We played him in the backfield and tried to get him on the perimeter a couple of different times and some run sets. And he played fast and ran well. But it has been a little bit surprising, a little bit challenging. And, I think he's disappointed and that it hadn't worked out, the way that he wanted it to. And I kind of feel the same way.
Do you know for sure what position he'll be a year from now?
No, not really. We'll see how it goes as he moves forward. I think the more confident he gets on his knee, the better he'll be, and then he'll really benefit from having a spring practice and moving forward. I mean, he's a guy that he's got talent. I mean, he's fast. He's very, very fast, and so we want to try to figure out how to use him and utilize his talent. Could potentially be. We'll see how it plays. A lot of that's going to have to do with how much confidence he's got in his knee.
Statistically, their defenses have problems just like yours has. As you look at it, what has been their problems? What sort of things do they try to do that they haven't been able to do? And
yeah, they're a lot like us. I mean, they have missed tackles at times. They haven't been a great tackling football team. They're pretty young defensively, starting some young players. Bless you. They are. They know what they're doing defensively. I mean, they're very sound in what they do. I think their corners, particularly number 20, is a good player. I think he plays a lot of confidence, plays very aggressively. They've given up some big plays. I mean, just like we have, and most of it's been as a result from not tackling particularly well. So I mean, we're similar in a lot of ways. I mean, they're dealing with some inexperience at some key positions, kind of just like we are.
Just one follow-up. What sort of scheme do they play? What sort of thing are they pressure?
Yeah, I mean they're a typical team. They're about a third of the pressure. They'll play. They base out of an even front. They played a lot of odd against Arizona. Played mostly 3 down against Arizona. So, we could see both. I would think coming into this game that they would probably be more 3 down against us than they have against other people. Again, that's what they did prominently against Arizona, and I'm not quite sure what we'll see for sure, but they do both, and they do both pretty well.
What have you thought of Bigelow? He seems to have gotten split more evenly now between running back and receiver, at least the last few practices last week and the first practice this week. Have you thought he's come back into that?
Yeah. No, I think he's more confident, on his knee than he probably has been. He had a couple of fumbles against Washington State, and I think as a result lost some confidence, and and I think he's playing more confident now. I think it's just been a process. He's, I think he's back feeling better than he has, and playing with more confidence.
Sonny, what do you see for Richard Rodgers in this game? Is he?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know. He caught the ball well yesterday. He's got a big cast on his hand, and that's not ideal when it comes to catching the football. But I would expect him to see more action this week than he did last week. How much, I think, will depend on how well he practices this week, and how much confidence we have in his ability to catch the ball, and just as importantly to block.
Talking to some of the guys yesterday, there seemed like a theme of, when the team is going through this, of trying to keep the team together and keep everyone kind of on the same page in terms of, still playing hard, every practice, every play, things like that. Has there been any leaders that have emerged for you guys vocally, or?
Well, that's an interesting question. I think that the interesting thing about this football team is that, when you talk about, who are the leaders in your team, if you'd asked me that when the season started, I would have said, Brendan Scarlett, and Nick Forbes, and Avery Sebastian, and Stephen McClure, and those would have been the guys that would have been the first 4 that come to mind. Well, none of those guys have played. I mean, Avery played a half. McClure played, 4 games, 5 games, whatever it was. And so, and we never had Scarlett, and we haven't had Forbes. And so, I think that's been a big hit for us from a leadership standpoint, because those are guys that had played and had experience. I think Rigsby has started to take a little bit of a leadership role offensively. I've seen Daniel Asco at times, show that. Bryce Treggs at times has shown that. Would like for Richard Rodgers to become that guy. Jared at some point will, as soon as he matures a little bit and gets more comfortable and confident in his role. So I think right now it's probably not a strength. I'm hoping a year from now, we'll have a ton of leadership and guys that understand what that's all about and appreciate it. And, and as I said, a lot of it has to do with guys that we expected to kind of carry that torch for us have been injured. Yeah, I mean it's hard. I mean it makes it hard when you don't have a ton of leadership, just because as coaches we have to do that, and then at some point they start to tune you out. When you're the ones constantly doing that, and you feel like you have to. And as coaches, if you don't have a lot of leadership, it's your responsibility to provide it. But at the same time, I mean if you've got really strong positive leadership, it can make a huge difference in your program, a huge difference, because as coaches, we don't know what's going on behind the scenes all the time, and if you've got that leadership that can hold things together, and address issues that we don't even know are issues, because we're not down in the locker room every day. We don't know what's going on down there, and what's going on off the field when they're not in this building, and you want to know, you try to find out, but it's tough to know exactly what's going on. And those guys, when you have great leadership, then it solves a lot of problems.